So during the onboarding period, you are doing demos of all the different types of property management software out there for storage facilities. So choosing the software, the one software that's going to grow with you based on what your self-storage investing goals are. So now in storage for stages 2, 3, and 4, I'll break this down so everybody kind of has an idea. Stage 2, stage 3, right, and stage 4. Okay. So we have onboarding. I'm not going to get into funding. Stage 2 funding is in stage 2, but I did funding last week, right? So we're only going to talk about onboarding a little bit. So onboarding equals taking payments. Onboarding means take payments. Well, how can you take payments, right? You have to have a software. So during the onboarding period, you are doing demos of all the different types of property management software out there for storage facilities, right? So that you can make an educated decision on what type of software that you want to use in order to manage your facility. And I really tell all my students do as many demos of every software out there. There's a plethora of softwares out there, but you want to really kind of get an idea of what everything offers. And then you also have to ask yourself with the software, how in depth do I want to be for stage 4, right? Because stage 4, remember, is automate and systematize. So when I think of stage 4, the two things that you have to think about when you start looking at softwares is how many storage facilities am I going to be owning? Overall, am I going to have one? Now, remember that like 50% of all storage facility owners only own one storage facility, and there's nothing wrong with just having one, right? Right. But if you want to own 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 or 15 like me, or 20 or whatever, 30 or whatever you want to own, then you have to think ahead, because if you choose a software and then you decide to move over to another one, because you imagine if you had like, if we have like 2,000 tenants right now. Could you imagine if we decided to move to another software right now? It would be like hell. It'd be horrible. And even when you just have 50 tenants or 100 tenants, it's just horrible to change softwares and get on all the tenants to get them to re-log in, give their account information. Because what happens is when you go from one software to another software, that payment information is not saved, because that software you can't transfer it. You can't just transfer it over and stuff or whatever. So you have to and also you have to get the new contract signed within that new software. And so that's the thing with software, the onboarding part, which comes in under transfer ownership. Let me see. So that's not my thing. Oh, here it is. There you go. Transfer ownership is getting the contract signed and getting payment information, and getting the tenant account set up. Okay, so choosing the software, the one software that's going to grow with you based on what your self-storage investing goals are is very key in the success of the management of your company or companies or whatever, how many you're going to have. Okay. So you want to be very clear about that, you know, as you start getting into stage 2. This is a very, and a lot of people go, oh, he's already got ESS, so let me just do ESS and I'll transfer it over and it's no big deal, right? But, you know, but the thing is like ESS is doesn't have a lot of automation and systematizing in it. ESS is for those owners that have 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 facilities. You know, I would say, you know, if you're having more than a couple of facilities with ESS, you know, and you want to really automate stuff, because like ESS does not do rate increase automation. Like it does, like you have to manually increase your own rates. You know, every single software has its own nuances. There's not one perfect software that can do everything that you want. And in fact, my husband, like, he's like, I want to start my own software. And that's what everybody always says when they have a lot of facilities, right? You know, he's like, you know, and I'm like, you are not going to go spend like $100 grand on the software. No. So, but so like, you know, so we use StorageNerds is what we use. And, you know, and honestly, we've never really used any other softwares because we've always used StorageNerds. But the one thing I love about StorageNerds is that they are always asking the customer, us, what they're missing, and they're funneling a lot of money into development, right? And so we like, there's always every 6 months, there's like some new thing that's coming out for them. Whereas ESS, like there is no developments at all. Like what it was 3 years ago, it's exactly what it was today. The only development ESS has is that they raising their prices every 6 months. So, you know, and then there's Breeze and there's Yardi Breeze, and then there's like, and if you want to put them in the chat, if you guys know of any, y'all can put them in. But really the point is that during your onboarding phase, you want to demo every single software out there and just choose the best software that's going to fit your goals and your needs. All right. So for us personally, for me personally, like I always had in my mind that I was going to own 30 storage facilities, right? I don't know why I had this number 30. Now, I don't know if we'll ever really get to that number because we're at 15 and it's a lot of storage facilities. But I was always like, I feel like 30 is a good number, you know? And so then I went and just, you know, I did demos of all the softwares that were out there at the time. And we settled on StorageNerds because it really had a very good user interface. And then also they were adding a lot of stuff to it. And they have a lot of ways that you can automate stuff. Okay. So, and so for us, making our facilities as passive as possible, right, and being able to automate as much as possible is very, very important for us. In fact, if we were using a different software outside of storage last year, we probably would not have been able to be living in our RV and traveling, right? Because like from August of, or so from July, yeah, so no, August of 2020 until October of 2021, we lived in an RV and we traveled full time is what we did. So for a whole year, we were on and off in the RV up until then, like 50% of the time, but then we decided to go full time. And at that time, we had 12 storage facilities. And StorageNerds really automated a lot of that stuff. The only thing we had to do is really manage our boots on the ground person and manage our phone people, like our in-house phone person. And at that time, for 12 facilities, we only had like maybe 2 or 3 other people working for us, and that's it. And so it was very easy to kind of like, you know, manage all that. So the software is like, it's just depending on what your lifestyle wants to be, you know, what's your goals, what's your dreams, you know, like for storage investing, that's when you really do the software demos and you really try to figure out what, you know, which one you want to use. Okay. And you need to be asking really good questions. Like, what can I automate? You know, what are all of the different features that you have? You know, what are the other owners of facilities really maximizing within the software? What are some things that you're beta testing right now? That your customers have told you that you're missing. So you really want to ask some really good questions when you're doing these demos for softwares. Okay. Hey everybody, this is Stacy here. Thank you so much for watching this video. I am here to teach you how to get your foot into this industry. You're watching this video because you want to learn how to get started in self-storage investing, or maybe you own facilities and you want to be a better manager, a better owner. That is what I do, is I teach people how to do that. So please like this video and also subscribe, hit the subscribe button, because that's what YouTube wants. So in order for me to get out the word on how to get started in this industry, I really need your help. Again, I appreciate you listening to me, and I'm here to help you on this journey, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.